Given the increasing cost of new comic books, when a local store in my area says they're going to hold a 25-cent sale on all their recent back issues, I jump all over that. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. In just a few minutes, we're going to get to this haul of very recent back issues that I picked up at an amazing sale hosted by a local shop here in my area, where all of these back issues were just 25 cents a piece. But before we get to that haul, given that it's all really recent titles and issues, it seemed like a good time as any to share an update that I've made to my own collecting habits here in 2025. And now that we're halfway through the year, I feel pretty safe that it's not just a whim. It wasn't just a fickle change that lasted for 1 month and then I bailed on it. I've got 6 months of history under me now, and so maybe this will stick around at least for the time being. But the change is that as of 2025, I am no longer buying comic books new. That's right. No more getting comic books as they come out. The days of going to the 7-Eleven and getting them off the newsstand are over. Well, they've been over for a very long time, but the days of going to my comic book shop every Wednesday for new releases and picking those books up there, or my habit for the last 10 years has been to pre-order all of my new comic books online through DCBS. All of those days are done. And it was not an easy change and came with more than a little bit of fear and trepidation as I did so, because I felt like I was cutting myself off from a really good thing. I enjoy and love current comic books. So don't misunderstand me in saying I'm not buying anything new anymore. I'm only buying older back issues because I know there is a whole segment of the collecting community that focuses only on Golden Age or Silver Age, or most commonly that I heard is Bronze Age. That's a big one right now, and maybe even Copper Age. But I'm not saying any of that. I like both the older comic books and I like a lot of current comic books too. And so it wasn't easy for me to cut off that steady monthly flow of new issues coming in. But the reality is comic book prices are going up, and it seems like it's happening more rapidly, where $3.99 as a standard issue, that's been that way for a while now. But then more commonly, a number one is $4.99 or maybe $5.99. And then special issues can get even more than that, where we've seen single issues that get up to like $9.99 for one comic book. And even getting the discounted prices that I was getting online, it still becomes hard to not just justify, but I don't want to spend that kind of money on just new comic books, because I am on a fixed budget every month for comics, which means that that pot of money has to fund everything I buy, whether that's new comics, back issues, omnibus editions, and frankly, giving the percentage of that budget that was going to new comics every month, I have shifting priorities now. I, in fact, have given a prioritization to some of these collected editions. And so I don't want to spend as much money as I was on all those new comics. And not just because I prefer a different format now, but with the new comics, I wasn't even reading them when they came out. I like to let a story arc accumulate and then read, say, 6 issues of a title at a time. But what that means is that there's a lot more gambling involved in getting those new comics, because I'm pre-ordering them 2 months before they come out, and then they come out and I'm not reading it. But say it was in issue number 1, I got it, it sits on the in the pile, and then I get issue number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the while I haven't read any of those, and if it's something new, I don't even know if I like it. And I've committed to at least 6 issues of buying that now before I even know, do I like it or not? And so rather than tying up that money in new issues that I may or may not like, I instead am deciding to prioritize collected editions or back issues that I know I want for sure. That's kind of more time tested and the dust has had a chance to settle a little bit, and I could get a feel for, is this a good story, something I want to read and add to my collection? Or is this something that just seems flashy and new and it's really just the fear of missing out that's motivating my purchase? And then I get it and then I realize, well, that really wasn't all that worth it to begin with. So that's the shift that I've made. Do any of you do something similar? How many of you out there are still buying comic books new, buying them as they come out? And there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's just about preference. Like I said, I still like the current comics, and there's a lot of things I want to add to my collection. But what I'm doing instead is, first off, I have a digital subscription to both Marvel Unlimited and the DC Universe, DC Unlimited. I forget the name of that one, but I've got an annual subscription to both Marvel and DC, which allows me to stay relatively current on the titles that I'm most interested in. It also gives me an opportunity to test out titles that I've got no exposure to otherwise, and I can dabble in those and start to read some things to say, maybe that'll inform some future back issue purchases as well as those current things. So there's a lot of good benefits to the digital, but then on top of that, I do still prefer print and love having a physical media collection of comics. I don't want to just go digital. That's mostly for convenience. But for the print things, I'm going to continue to dive in the dollar bins, or like the sale I've got to share a haul with you today from, which was a 25-cent sale, and it really doesn't get any better than that. So that's the update. Let me know how your collecting habits are these days. And, all of this I say with kind of an asterisk of this is for now. I like to avoid saying never in this hobby because I've seen in myself the propensity for change over time. There was a time years back where I said, or I would have said, I will never buy omnibus editions. And yet here they are, many of them around me, and I give priority to this type of format now. And from a reading perspective, I really enjoy the collected editions, even more so than the single issues, because you get the whole event or the whole arc or the whole run all in one nice self-contained volume. And it looks really nice on the shelf too. But today, to shift gears here, we're going to look at a haul of single issues that came from a local shop called Dreamer's Vault. I've mentioned them in previous videos. They primarily only sell current comics, but over time, as they have to make room for the newest releases, they have to get those current issues out of the way, and that's what constitutes their back issue bins. And on a normal day, they sell those at half off cover price. So already that's a great deal. But a couple times a year, they'll do a sale like this where they just slash the prices down to $1.50, or in this case, 25 cents, just because they want to move inventory. And it's really effective. There are usually a lot of people there, and we're all grabbing stuff. And I really try to prioritize and focus on the titles that I know that I want to collect, but it's hard to do when they're only 25 cents, and it's pretty low risk from a budgetary perspective because you could grab those things, try them out, and if you don't like it, well, what's the big deal? It's only 25 cents. My reason for prioritizing and focusing on the things that I really want is because space is limited, and so I want to make sure that if it's taking up space in my comic book room, that it's something I really want here in my collection. So I'll put links to Dreamer's Vault, their online presence, down below. So if you're in the area and you want to check them out, you can do so. They do have multiple locations. Not all of them have comic books. All of them are really focused on role-playing games, card games, other types of things like that. But then a few of them do also have their comic book section. So starting things off, I am working on the current title of Avengers, the current volume of Avengers, filling in issues as I can find them. Here is issue 10, and then 18, 19. And these are all the standard cover, I believe, on these. And issue number 20. I've heard good things about this run so far, so definitely trying to fill in those holes as I can find them. Another title that I'm getting very close to finishing now is the recently concluded Captain America, Only ran for 16 issues. This one was written by J.M. Straczynski, and the artist was kind of a rotating. I don't think he had one artist for even that short 16 issue run. I will say I was kind of hoping for a bigger splash from a Straczynski run on Captain America. So it wasn't my favorite. I really liked his run on Amazing Spider-Man, for example, and I liked what he did on Thor. And so I was hoping for something similar. I don't know if it even ran long enough for really to get its legs under itself to get some momentum going. And I don't know what the reason for the change was to cap it off at issue 16, if that was due to lackluster sales on the issues that had come out so far, or if Straczynski was otherwise committed to other things, because I know shortly after this concluded, he was doing a series of one-shots where there were different Marvel heroes teaming up with each other that came out, I don't know, several months ago now. But this run only ran for 16 issues. I picked up number 13. I only now need issue 16 to complete the run. And even as I record this week, the newest volume of Captain America is kicking off with a new number 1. And I want to say it's Chip Zdarsky writing that. And is it Valerio Schiti doing the art, to at least to start off with? Because it always seems that at least the penciler doesn't stick around for more than the first story arc, and then they rotate it. But we'll see how long this creative team sticks together. But that has been a test already of my resolve to not buy current comic books, or buy them new, at least to buy comic books new, because I've heard really good things about it. I know that the Marvel historical sliding timeline had a shift as of this number 1. And I don't know how much of a spoiler this is, but if you've read Captain America historically, you know that he, of course, went into the ice in World War II, but then over the years, the timeline as to when he woke up has changed multiple times over the years to keep it kind of with modern times. And the latest slide has him waking up just after 9/11. So he's only been out of the ice for the last couple decades here, and that's really intriguing to me. And so there's a part of me that said, oh, maybe I need to get out and buy that new, but I'm gonna resist and I'm gonna hold off, and maybe I can get it in a dollar bin down the road. Or who knows, if this run is really good, maybe they'll give it the Omni format or the Omni treatment several few years down the road, and then I'll be able to collect it in print that way. But in the meantime, in a few months, when issue 1's available on Marvel Unlimited, I'll definitely be able to read it there. But just to share, there's tension in this decision. It's not an easy one to keep the resolve on. And I do have to stay away from my computer and looking at all the new releases, because that's where it really whets my appetite and entices me to dip back in there. But I'm not trying to hold this out forever. It's just for now with my budget and priorities in collecting. So we'll see. The day may come again when I buy comics as they come out again. And heck, if I'm being honest, if they were $1 cover price still, I'd be buying a crap ton of comic books every month, and my back issues and omnibus editions. But that is not the case. So here we are. Moving on with the haul. Here's the latest run, or the current run, of Iron Man. This is issue number 2. I only have issue number 1, so we're kind of going in order here. Love that variant cover there for issue number 2. So really happy that that's the copy that they had in their bins. When you go to a quarter sale like this, no guarantee they're going to have the cover you want. If you have a preference, if you want the issue, you take what they have, and that's the one they had there. And then got several issues that are mutant related or X-Men related. We've got, and these are mostly the current era, which is the From the Ashes era of X-Men, so post Krakoa. One of those titles is NYX, and this is one that short-lived. It only ran for 10 issues, and then it was already canceled. So it's going to be relatively short-lived hunt for me to get all 10 of those issues. I don't think it'll take too terribly long, but there's issue number 2. And then issue number 4. And then They've been doing a lot of solo series in this latest launch of X-Men, both limited series and ongoings. And that's kind of cool because historically the X-Men have been focused on team books. But I did pick up Mystique #3. This was just a 5-issue limited series, and it's the first issue I own from it. So going to take a little while to fill out those, before and after issues so that I can read the whole thing. And then one that, if I were collecting things new, I would be picking up, and that is Phoenix. I've read the first 4 or 5 issues online, and I've enjoyed this story so far, and the art I really like as well, but I'm slowly catching up on the print side of things. There's issue #2, and just that one issue for that one, and that is an ongoing. I think she's up around 11, 12 issues now for that series. And then we've got Storm #2. I think this is an ongoing, but I'm not 100% sure. And then there's #3. And then a limited series that is definitely intriguing from the creative team, but I've heard mixed reactions about the story itself, and that is Wolverine Revenge. This is issue #5. I think I have 4 of the 5 issues now, or maybe 3 of the 5 issues at this point. This is written by Jonathan Hickman, and this is drawn by Greg Capullo. It's an out-of-continuity limited series, and yeah, that's about all I know. Is he in the Savage Land? He may be, or maybe he travels around. He's somehow, I guess he's seeking revenge. But I like the creative team, and I'll just pick these up as I can find them cheap. Now we're going to go backwards a little bit, but stick with Wolverine. This is Wolverine #34. This is from the Krakoa era. He had a 50-issue series during that phase of X-Men history, and this is issue 34. It is the Rob Liefeld variant. Again, chose the one I like the best from the options that they had, and now I only need one more issue to complete this entire 50-issue run. So really happy to be that close to completing that one. And then also from the Krakoa era, here is X-Force #47. I do have this whole series. This one also ran for 50 issues during Krakoa, but this was just a really cool variant that I could not pass up with the fastball special happening there. And just thought that was a really cool stylized version of the fastball special. Here is Ultimate X-Men #11, so part of the new Ultimate Universe. And this is Peach Momoko doing both the writing and the pencils. I was getting this new last year when it first came out, and it didn't really hook me, but it's still X-Men, and I'm a completist when it comes to X-Men. So for 25 cents, I'll pick up another issue. We'll see if this one gets going. From what I understand, though, this Ultimate Universe is not destined to live forever. It might only be like 24 issues or something like that for each of them. But it is a limited life expectancy for this Ultimate Universe. So we'll see where they go with that and how they wind up wrapping that up. We're going to go forward again. I didn't do these exactly in order, but we're back to Wolverine. This is his current ongoing series. Really cool cover. It's one of the variants with Godzilla, because Godzilla is teaming up or fighting against everybody in the Marvel Universe right now. But that's a really cool cover there on issue #2. And then I also got issue #4. There's another variant there. And then this next Wolverine was an oops buy. I thought it was a copy of issue #3, and that it was just a variant cover that I wasn't familiar with. But it always pays to look in your CLZ or check your list, whatever format that's in, before you commit to buying it. Because if you don't, you might make a mistake. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't look, and I made the mistake. This is actually part 3 of a limited series called Venom War. It's a tie-in series to this Venom War event, and I have not tracked with that one at all. But apparently it went at least 3 issues, maybe 4, and I thought I was getting #3 from the ongoing series. It's a cool cover, I'll give you that, but I didn't have any intention of completing this limited series, so this issue is kind of an orphan right now. And that's it for the mutant books. But then I did get some from the Energon Universe, which I'm really excited about in the recent year to 2 years from Skybound or Image Comics. And that's another one where it's really hard for me to resist getting the single issues. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you may have heard me say that Transformers is my first love in comic books. And it is the franchise that got me into comic books way back in the 1980s to begin with. And so the thought of cutting off that access to the new comics every month, those single issues of Transformers, when I could get them and I was choosing not to, that was probably the hardest decision or the hardest aspect of this decision for me. Fortunately, it was smoothed over significantly because now Skybound is doing, and I didn't mean to show these in this video, but they are doing oversized hardcover collected editions of the three main Energon Universe titles. So you've got G.I. Joe, you've got Void Rivals, which really was the title that kicked off the Energon Universe and was the rebirth of Transformers under Skybound, and then Transformers as well. Funny little side note, the Transformers collected edition is the one of the three that came out first, and it's the only one I don't have right now, and that's because it's caught in shipping limbo at DCBS, because without going into all the detail anymore, basically when I stopped placing monthly orders, they held everything from my last shipment until everything comes out, and then they're just doing one final shipment because you do pay for shipping with DCBS. So instead of giving me monthly shipments that I didn't pay for, they're holding everything. And the one long pole in getting that shipment is an omnibus that I pre-ordered. I don't even know how long ago it was now, but that should be coming out later this month. So hopefully later in July or maybe in August, I'll get that final shipment from DCBS with everything I've ordered since like December or January, right when I stopped buying things new. So I'll eventually have that Transformers. But these oversized hardcover collected editions have made it a little bit easier for me to release getting the new single issues every month, because I know that I'll have a format that I can access down the road. But that being said, it doesn't mean I'm not going to pick up those single issues when I can find them for really cheap. And so I picked up at this sale a copy of G.I. Joe #1, which is a cool variant cover. And if you want to see, actually on the back, here's your cover gallery of all the #1 issues and the covers that came out. This one is done by, is this Opeña? Yeah, Jerome Opeña, who did this cover here. So I thought that was really nice. I'm definitely going to pick up a variant like that when I find it. And then another one, Transformers #16. This is the A cover, the one done by Daniel Warren Johnson. I had gotten the Jorge Corona B cover on this one, and you can see there's a kind of a thumbnail gallery of the covers for issue 16. But really fun. I'll continue to do this like I've done with previous iterations of Transformers. Always going to pick up those single issues when I find them for cheap. And then still with the Energon Universe, here is a variant to Scarlet #2 that I thought was cool as well. I do have this complete limited series, and now I've got this extra variant. And again, on the back, nice little thumbnail gallery of all the cover options for issue #2. And Scarlet is not part of this first G.I. Joe volume. That one is a little bit different than the Void Rivals and the Transformers, because Void Rivals and Transformers start right in with their issue #1 from their ongoing series. But G.I. Joe started off with 4 different limited series focused on solo characters before it kicked off its the G.I. Joe ongoing. And so that first volume of the Energon Universe has the Duke and Cobra Commander limited series. And then volume 2 is going to have Scarlet and Destro. And then volume 3 will kick off the G.I. Joe formal ongoing series. So just a little background for anybody who's interested. And then a couple more issues here before I show you something really kind of extra special that I didn't even tease at the beginning of this video. But if you're still watching, you're, I think, going to get a cool payoff at the end here. But before we get to that, here's Thundercats number 11. I loved the Thundercats cartoon as a kid, and I have a lot of the Marvel comics that were out back then. And so this current version of their story has been pretty fun to follow along with, and I'll continue to pick these up as I can find them. And then this one's kind of a funny one. Can't tell what that is unless you can see through the white a little bit there. The store, in addition to having their sale, was doing kind of a prize giveaway. They had, and didn't even cost anything. You played a little version of Plinko, for any of you who remembers The Price is Right, but you drop a quarter in the slot, and wherever it lands, that determines your prize. And didn't cost me anything to play, so of course I was going to play. And I won this comic book. This is a sketch variant to All-Star Superman #1. And this was done, is this, Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. And I liked when DC was doing this. I don't know if they're still doing it, but you get the cardstock variant cover on the front there, but then you still get the standard edition cover underneath. And so you still have that regular treatment. And that's really the best of both worlds. You get the cool variant that you like, and you get the standard cover. But this is one of the all-time greats of Superman stories. I do have these all in single issue format already, and probably worth in time to give it a reread, but just a cool bonus comic to get and to win at this already good sale that got even better. All right, that does it for almost all of this haul, but I do have one, technically two extra special things still to show you. And here's how this went down. Going through all the boxes, 25 cents a piece, great. And I got to the checkout, and as I was checking out, I looked back and I knew this was there, but down on the floor next to their regular back issues, they had one short box sitting on the floor. And in it, they had a bunch of Black Label, DC, Elseworlds type limited series and one shots and things like that. And I didn't really look through those because I didn't know if they were part of the sale, but I decided, you know what, it's not going to hurt to ask. And so I asked the person helping me, I said, hey, what about that box on the floor? Is that part of the sale? And she said, yep, those are all a quarter a piece as well. And I said, all right, hang on, I got to go check that out, because they've done that before. And I scored some really cool issues out of that exact box in the past. So I figured it's going to be worth my time to take a look right now. And so I flipped through there, and there was a bunch of Black Label stuff, some Batman, some Harley Quinn, some other things like that, but nothing that particularly grabbed my attention until I came across this. Right here, you've got limited collector's edition Batman. This is a facsimile, so don't get too excited. It's not the original from 1972, or whatever that was, but this is an actual size facsimile of this collector's edition, kind of like a Treasury edition. I don't have any of these, either from DC or the Marvel side of things. And so this was super exciting that it's only a quarter. So happy to grab this one. But just to give you an idea, this has got all the original ads. It's the original artwork. It's even kind of, it's newsprinty. And some of the coolest things in here, I'll show you the centerfold here, because it's got one of these cool features. Let me see, is there anything before this? Okay. It's got Secrets of the Batcave, 1968. So you've got this cutaway view of the Batcave and the mansion and where his secret entrance is, as well as the underground river where the bat boat goes. That's really cool. And then on the next page, you've got more of the tools and equipment for Batman and Robin there, what's in those utility belts, and they even outline everything that's in each of the little cylinders there in Batman's belt. And then is there anything else? No, that's it. But then it goes on with these other stories, and these are a collection it's a collection of stories that were originally published elsewhere. So these weren't original when they did the collector's edition. But I'll show you again the table of contents there. These stories come from, there's 4 different issues of Batman, I want to say. And then one was actually a collection of the Sunday comic strip that ran in the 60s, like for a summer. They just kind of spliced them all together. But that was super, super fun to find this facsimile edition. I don't think it smells like an original, but it sure does smell good anyway, being on that newsprint. But that was a super fun find, facsimile edition for 25 cents. Look at that cover price, $14.99. Crazy town, $14.99. But I said technically there were 2 issues that I found, and the second one is another copy of the same thing, but it's extra special because it's a foil cover. How awesome is that? $19.99 cover price. I got it for 25 cents. Same facsimile. The only difference is this one got the foil treatment. Which do you prefer? If you were going to pick one of these 2 and you had to choose one or the other, 25 cents, one or the other, which one would you choose? Would you go regular or would you go foil treatment? I clearly couldn't decide, and I didn't have to decide, so I went with both for a whopping 50 cents total. If I'm being honest, as much as I love foil covers, given that this is a facsimile, if I had to choose just one, I might choose the non-foil version because it's the closest to the original. But don't hold me to that, because again, I did get the foil and I'm happy to have both, and I'm hesitant to let either one of them go. But really happy to add these to my collection, really happy to find these. Do any of you have any of the original limited collector's editions? That's what they were called, right? I'm not making that up, am I? I think they were called limited collector's editions. But do any of you have any of the originals? Get those when you were a kid, or do you collect them now in the back issues when you can find them? Let us know down in the comments. But with those 2 facsimiles, that is going to wrap up this really cool current comic haul from Dreamer's Vault. All right, that's going to do it for me. And that's going to wrap up this 25-cent haul of recent back issues that I picked up at the Dreamer's Vault back issue sale. I do hope you saw something that you liked, and if you did, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, then why don't you hit the subscribe and ring the bell for notifications so you'll know the next time I upload a video. Now, if you're not quite ready for the YouTube fun to stop, I have hand-selected a couple videos here for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.